I've been working on a beefy boy tank build over the Christmas break here, and although I'm still tinkering with a few things and moving it around, I think I found the best setup that I'm really comfortable with and I really enjoy. This build allows you to be very tanky. I've been able to hold my own against at least a dozen people at any given time. If you have any recommendations on changes that I could make to improve it, then I am welcome to all improvements down below in the comments. But aside from that, let me jump right in and let's show you the breakdown of this build. Going piece by piece, you will notice a consistency here, and that is enchanted ward and health. Every piece of gear that I have is got enchanted ward and health on it. And then I finalize that last perk with either a conditioning perk or in the sense of my chest piece here, I've got sturdy energy, which if I am blocking and hit below 30% stamina, I gain 41% stamina regeneration for 6 seconds, which is pretty good because we are going to be blocking a lot and getting hit a lot. But to start it off, we've got thrust conditioning as well as a slash ward gem in our helmet. I put fire ward on my chest and my gauntlets because a lot of fire was being thrown around in OPR earlier, and I decided to see if we can raise our boost a little bit more. But feel free to add whatever gems you might need to increase your conditioning. But again, enchanted ward, health, and sturdy energy. Enchanted ward, health, and strike condition on the gloves. Enchanted ward, elemental aversion, and health on our leg wear, as well as a slash ward gem. And then to round it out, we've got enchanted ward, health, and thrust condition with an additional thrust gem on our boots. We are rocking around 20% thrust and slash conditioning, as well as with our gloves here, we have 5% strike conditioning. Lately in OPR, I have been seeing a lot more warhammers, so I have considered raising our strike conditioning up a little bit, but so far this has felt really good. Rounding out our armor, although technically a weapon, but somehow still an armor piece, is the wall. This artifact does take away your dodge, which some people view as an absolute deal breaker, but quite honestly, we're not dodging a lot in this current setup, so it's okay. The 25% less damage from elemental sources is huge. The base 5% damage reduction, having an additional 33% stamina, as well as taking less stamina while blocking and being able to gain fortify on critical hit, although we're not doing very many critical hits, is a good thing. And having more sources of applying fortify is kind of a secondary aspect of this build, which you'll see here in a second. But when I upgraded this to 725, I did add fortifying shield rush, giving myself another easy source of fortify, which that increases our armor by 36% for 6 seconds. So that's pretty big. It's got about a 16-second cooldown on shield rush. So we've got about a 10-second lag time there, but we should be popping that about as consistently as possible. You can run whichever weapons you would like. I am running the Spark of Mjolnir as my secondary weapon. This really isn't important. The only time I'm bringing out the secondary weapon is if I have a moment to be able to throw down some abilities, and then I'm immediately switching back to my primary weapon. Your secondary is mostly if you actually do get stamina block and you have a second, just throw out some extra abilities, switch back to your primary and keep blocking is really the mentality of this. So run whichever secondary you feel comfortable with. But the mentality of the primary that I am running is having mortal fortification, which we don't get kills very often, but it is just another source of being able to bring fortify just in case we're able to do it. But Keen being able to provide us with additional crit chance is nice as well. Again, your weapons are not super important because you're really not going to be using them as much. Just as some harassing or being able to lay down some additional damages or additional chance at getting a crit to give you fortify. But for the most part, feel free to run whatever weapons you really want. The amulet is definitely one spot that I would like to upgrade. I'm not particularly in love with this amulet, but having fortified recovery is really what I wanted here. And that is if I am hit below 50% health, I gain 20% fortify for 5 seconds. That's really nice to have in a pinch if you're getting harassed. For the ring, Hardy is the main perk that you want. Being able to have Purifying Heart, which cleanses my debuffs whenever I use my Heart Room, is really nice. And then again, another chance at increasing my crit chance is nice with the ring. As far as it goes for the earring, I am overall looking for ways to reduce the amount of time it takes for me to pop more potions. So having refreshing toast, which overall reduces the cooldown, is nice. And then also having the chance of popping a potion and not consuming it is really nice as well. But the main kicker here is fortifying toast, which when I drink a potion, I get a 20% fortify for 8 seconds. Jumping into our sword and shield build, the main 3 abilities we will take is Whirling Blade, Shield Rush, and Defender's Resolve. Defender's Resolve is nice to be able to reduce the incoming damage for a little while. And I mostly pop that right before I see a bunch of people kind of heading towards me and I know I'm going to be taking a bunch of damage. Adding Final Countdown, and since we are running a tower shield, gives us that additional 20% reduction. And then Restoration is nice that when Defender's Resolve ends, it heals you for 30% of your overall health, which is going to be pretty high. Some of the big ones to take away from this build is Recuperation, which increases our health and regeneration. Defensive Training, which when you block an attack, gives you 20% fortify for 5 seconds. One with the shield, which since we're running a tower shield, being hit or blocking a hit will extend the duration of all of your buffs for 5%. Elemental Resistance, which is a 10% reduction on all magical types. That's very nice. Sturdy Shield, which gives us 15% physical armor. And then lastly is Precision, which increases our crit chance by 10% with a sword and shield. Again, we're not necessarily stacking crit chance, but it's nice to be able to have that just in case we crit so that we can proc fortify. Going over to our hammer build, we're not using the hammer as much. Again, most of it is going to be with crowd control when we are not blocking. So the overall design behind this build is to cause as much mayhem as we can, quick stuns, and then switch back to your sword and shield. The 2 big perks that I'll show you here is Power Cleaner, which when we use our clear out ability, it grants Fortify if we hit a target, which increases our armor by 20% for 4 seconds to all of our friendlies within 6 meters. That's pretty nice to have. Also, Safety Measures under the Wrecking Ball ability gives you Fortify when you successfully hit somebody, increasing your armor by 20% for 7 seconds. So you can see there's a lot of different ways that we can proc Fortify with this build. Last but not least, our attributes. Overall, what we're going for here is 500 in Constitution, maxing it out, and whatever else you have into Strength. Ideally, I would like these 20 points to be into Strength, and there's about 10 points from Constitution, which should go in there as well, which in a game, we should be sitting a little bit over 500 Con and around 100 on Strength if you optimize this correctly. I've played around with a few pieces of armor, which have kind of thrown this off a little bit. But if you come in and pop a Roasted Rabbit, it'll give you an additional 44 Constitution. And that well takes you over 500 Con, which will bring your health up over 26,000, making you very tanky. I hope you guys found this helpful and hopefully can help direct you down the path of becoming a tanky boy as well. Again, if you have any recommendations on how you would like to change this build, let me know down in the comments below. I'm always trying to improve it. And as always, I can't wait to see you guys in Aeternum.